And I don't care about that sort of stuff. You know,
Right.
by all means, make a full lesbian Star Wars film. Like, I don't care about that. But you feel hectored. Like, you feel like someone standing over your shoulder saying, "You see that?
Yeah.
That is what you're supposed to support. You're all homophobes." But that's good, right? That's what they're basically saying. They're saying you're all bad people. They don't trust human beings. They don't trust society.
And they're rabid. They're rabid
fuck, I know,
about
I know.
their need for compliance. Everyone must comply.
Gosh. Oh no.
Calling for Captain Marvel to step down.
Right? Okay. Why?
They want Captain Marvel to step down and be replaced by a gay woman of color.
Well, so no, I'm not a comic book fan, but I know that this is something that's particularly affected comic books in terms of
There it
Thor and
is.
Iron Man. Okay.
We
yeah.
need Brie Larson to step down from her role to prove she is an ally of social justice and ensure a gay woman of color plays the role. Let Monica, the original female and all caps, black Captain Marvel, instead of whitewashing characters for the benefit of the straight white men running Disney.
Like, hypothetically, would I at some point? Is that like a personal attack or something? Or...
Isn't Brie Larson super woke? Like, she's got a reputation for being incredibly woke.
Not woke enough if you're white.
Brie Larson made a speech about how she felt that there were too many male critics assessing her work, and she wanted to actually implement some kind of strategy to prevent that from happening. Yeah, it was all over the press. So she's about as woke as it gets.
That's
Surely,
not woke
right?
enough. She needs to step down, because if you're really woke, you'll step down and show that you're an ally for social justice and give up those millions of dollars to some other person.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
And does it matter which black gay woman? Does it have to be someone who can act?
They
maybe,
have to be
or
the
like-
gayest, blackest
So
woman
as-
you can find, because if you have like a half black and kind of gay, like pansexual woman,
Yeah,
then
that's
that's a part of the patriarchy.
Right, that's a problem, isn't it? It's like when Obama fucks up, people blame it on his white side. You know, it's like, because he's 50% white, he's 50% problematic. You can never have the kind of purity. The example I was giving with Camille Paglia, because she's an academic who was asked to step down by her own students, and they said, to the faculty, you need to replace her with a queer woman of colour. Like, who?
But why does a woman have to be queer? Why, if you want a woman of color, like, you see, this is the thing. It never ends. You can't be woke enough. And once it gets to queer woman of color and they've got one of those, they go, you know what? You should make room for a transgender.
So it was just kind of finding our way, but it was a good group of people to figure it out with, right, guys?
Yeah.
Isn't it fun being there for all my extra takes?
Signed you up.
And what if the queer woman of colour is really bad at her job?
Too bad.
It doesn't
you
matter.
You need to adapt. You need to help her.
Right, okay.
And understand that society has fucked her over. And that's why she's not as good as Camille Paglia was.
So again, it gets back to one of their fundamental premises, that they don't believe in objective truth. They think objective truth. This is a postmodern thing, right? They don't believe in it.
It's also these people that you're talking about, they haven't built these structures that they want to tear down.
Right.
They're not a part of the construction of these enormous film studios, enormous entertainment empires.
Yeah.
That's, so they want to step in to something that not only have they not built, but they're not capable of building.
Right.
Because they're wrapped up in this fucking wacky ideology that doesn't allow you to be creative.
Nowadays, whenever somebody disagrees with something you have to say, instead of going after your viewpoints with arguments of their own, they'll instead go after you, your character that is, and they'll normally be pretty nasty about it. What follows is a slew of insults intended to brand you as one of those people. Insults like calling you a sexist, racist, homophobic, white nationalist, bigot, so on and so forth. And of course, once you've been branded as one of these terms, then nobody should listen to what you have to say, no matter how valid or truthful it may be, because after all, you're one of those types of people, and nothing you say can be trusted. So all meaningful dialogue is shut down and transformed into nothing more than name-calling and insults.
Your mama's so fat! Every time she turns around, it's her birthday!
I've noticed that in the entertainment industry within Hollywood, that this seems to be the go-to method of dealing with criticism. They produce a movie filled with flaws, But if they just race swap a character, then when the criticisms about those flaws begin, then they can all be dismissed because you're just a racist, and a racist could never give a valid criticism of a movie, right? Or maybe they just tweak a character's backstory and make them gay, even though their sexuality has nothing to do with the story or the character's motivations at all. But when the show comes out and nobody likes it, it's not because it's bad or anything, it's simply because the audience is homophobic. Problem solved, right? Except it's not solved, and what they thought was a quick fix solution was only a band-aid of deflection that made it easier to ignore the actual problems and how they tell stories.
I'll take a pound of nuts. That's a lot of nuts!
Whenever a person doesn't know how to deal with conflict, they normally push responsibility of their mistakes onto other people, and it keeps them from ever really growing as an individual. Just look outside today, and we can see a generation of spoiled children who have never learned how to look their own demons in the eye and deal with them. And just as that can happen in the life of an individual or a group of people, it can also happen in the life of a $157 billion company like Disney. Which brings me to the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Gosh. Oh no.
I mean, the warning signs were there, I'd say as early as the first Captain Marvel movie. But instead of listening to criticism and maybe implementing some serious course correction, they just deflected it all, called the critics sexist, and shoved their heads deeper and deeper into their own ass, constantly trying to convince themselves that their shit smells like a rose. And once you follow that cesspool to its natural conclusion, you get scenes like this.
Our peacekeeping troops will begin relocating people soon. The terrorists only set us back a bit.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
There's still people in there. This is the only language these people understand.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
Or other scenes like this one.
Monica, she blasted you halfway across New Jersey.
And I survived because she chose to protect me.
She's holding thousands of people hostage.
And it could have been thousands more if she hadn't put up her own quarantine.
And even stuff like this.
When incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or might just literally get murdered.
You serious?
Lazy writing, ridiculous characters that at one time were beloved and highly respected, and far left politics shoved in at every turn, all of which was spewed out in some soulless corporate meeting room filled with activists who hate the very thing they're wanting you to go to the theaters and see. And so we come full circle and find ourselves on the edge of expectation, waiting for the newest MCU release, The Marvels. At the time of this video, it's already been delayed several times, and there's rumors that the release date of November 10th may even get pushed back further. From the cast, we can see that there's plenty of diversity, and leading this all-star cast, we have Brie Larson playing Wet Sock, Teyonah Parris playing Rambo, First Blood, and Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. She's actually the only one I'm not super interested in when it comes to taking the piss out of these characters. It's not like Miss Marvel is a good character or anything, but she's not the worst thing in the world, and from the very little bit I've seen out of Vellani, she seems to be fairly likable. See, I can be nice. But on the other hand, when it comes to these two, from the trailers, we learn Rambo touches a magical wall in space, which seems to have a direct result in causing all three of our protagonists to switch places whenever they use their powers. She originally got her powers by walking through another magical wall, so this makes 2 magical walls for her, which isn't a lot, but still. The three of them are facing off against an antagonist that seems to know Wet Sock's real-life identity within the MCU.
Captain Marvel, the Annihilator.
I understand if you're a bit checked out at what's going on in this film and where it lies in the overall progression of this universe. I mean, you'd have to watch Miss Marvel, WandaVision, Captain Marvel, and Secret Invasion to be all caught up, and since most people would rather spend an eternity in hell than sit through any of these, then you may need a bit of a refresher before you decide to not go and see this movie. Don't worry, I've got your back. Well, let's see. Miss Marvel is about a Pakistani girl named Kamala, not the whore who's currently vice president, the one from the comics. And she has the power to make giant purple stuff. I heard she was a mutant also? I don't know. Rambo First Blood Part 2 was a sword agent who got her powers by walking through a magical red wall that Wanda spewed out of her own ass. Luckily, she heard voices in her head and found the strength to overcome the oppression she's faced, and now she can change the colors of her eyes and has the powers of a light bulb. Lastly, in the trio of these three female stooges, we come to Wet Sock. She's the incarnation of Mehrunes Dagon, a demon lord of destruction. She comes from oblivion and seeks to annihilate every living creature with a penis between their legs. Oh yeah, and there's Nick Fury, who they've turned into a cuck. Yeah, there you go. Now you're all caught up.
Oh, God. Dude, you said you wouldn't say everything looks like shit. Sorry if I see things for what they are.
So, when this movie comes out, will it be any good? And if not, will the executives at Disney and those running the MCU listen to the criticism put forth and course correct before it's too late? No, probably not. But don't worry, I'll be sure to see it so you don't have to, and I'll let you know exactly why I think it sucks. Although, if that is the case, and these beloved franchises, like Marvel, are like the Titanic and are doomed to fail, then you may ask, why not just stop talking about this stuff? Why make videos about it at all, and just let the few people who enjoy it before it comes to an end? Well, there's a few reasons. You see, I think these amazing characters and compelling stories that many have loved since they were younger are being used as a Trojan horse to fill the minds of people with perverted and twisted messages. I really do. Compelling people to accept their woke religion or be ostracized from society, to play off people's guilt in order to convince them to conform to the herd.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
Every unfair stereotype.
Every time I explained away police brutality.
Black people are being slaughtered in the streets, killed in their own homes.
I will no longer allow an unchecked moment. I will no longer allow racist, hurtful words, jokes, stereotypes, no matter how big or small, to be uttered in my presence.
I will no longer throw away the African American part of the Oreo cookie just to get to the creamy white middle.
When I look at entertainment today, I see stories that push socialism, collectivism, and Marxism. Ideologies that demonize masculinity and encourage all forms of sexuality and debauchery. Where politics is a battlefield for the minds of the people, pop culture is a war for their hearts. It's more controversial nowadays to fly an American flag than it is to burn one, and that line of thinking, that zeal and passion for progressivism, that all goes back to pop culture and entertainment. People don't get their values from their parents or pastors anymore. They get them from the movies they watch. And every message being pushed today, it's absolute shit. You know, I used to love the MCU. I was there every opening night. I bought all the gay little cups that had the Avengers on them at the movie theaters. I watched YouTubers break down how everything in the movies called back to the comics. Now, I honestly hate everything they put out. And you know what the worst part is? When they're done with this universe and have picked the bones completely clean, they're just gonna move on to something else. Something you love. I mean, what else is there for this religion of social justice to destroy? Doctor Who? Nope. Too late for that one. What about Star Wars? Ah, that one's been completely molested. James Bond? That would be a big fat no. How about one of my most favorite games of all time, The Witcher, turned into a TV show with the best actor they could have found for the role? Oh, completely destroyed as well.
Fuck.
Game of Thrones Season 8, anyone? How about the remade for a modern audience version of He-Man? Everyone loved Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, right? The Wheel of Time. What about the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons? Halo, Scooby-Doo remade into Velma. Every CW show made within the past 5 years. Oh, and let's not forget every single goddamn Disney remake of what was once an amazing childhood story, now transformed into a shallow cash grab pumped full of diversity characters used as disposable human shields to fend off any valid criticisms from people who still have a brain. A franchise I really hated to see go downhill was the Harry Potter universe, with the release of the Fantastic Beasts movies and all the PC BS in them. Of course, nothing really beats the creme de la creme of progressive ideology perverting a beloved story and its universe the way the Rings of Power has done to the Lord of the Rings.
Or are you a castaway, grasping for a handhold in a tempest? There's a tempest in me! It swept me to this island for a reason.
We've seen it over and over again. Marvel built up a lot of goodwill and devoted fan base over 10 years with pretty solid entertaining content. But their empire is collapsing, and pretty soon it'll be a fart in the wind. And the reason the MCU will fall is because it's gone woke. But what do you guys think? Am I wrong? And if so, tell me why. What movie or franchise has this religion destroyed that you love? And one last thing I'd like to humbly ask before you go. I'm a little under 600 subscribers and around 1500 watch hours in the past year at the making of this video. I've been doing this a year and a half now, and I'm about halfway there to getting monetized and being able to actually start my YouTube career. It's not going as fast as I like, but that's okay. I'm not giving up, and I'd like to ask if you'd kindly like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when my videos drop, and maybe even share it with others on this platform. It really does go a long way, and I really appreciate it. But that's going to be it for me, guys. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great freaking day.